My left kidney was 67% dead material. My right kidney, dead material. You can't live with that. The heart that doesn't pump and kidneys that don't function. I knew I was gonna die. The body goes through stages, then you burn up and then you explode. I just became the universe. It was like I became the Milky Way. Millions and millions of dots, all expansion, total expansion. And then the most crazy thing happened.
Guy here. Welcome to my podcast. My amazing guest today is Etienne Peirsman. What an episode. This man is beautiful, and we had an incredible conversation. He's studied in craniosacral therapy, which I didn't know much about. But when I probed him about his journey, we end up spending a lot of the conversation around that. It is mind-blowing. And the way he shares and describes it was just incredible, and what it means to be human. He had an incredible spiritual awakening, a near-death experience, which he will share with you today. So if you are watching, I'm grateful. Please share this with a loved one or friend. If you do get a lot out of it, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave some comments below, anything to help me continue to get these conversations out there, because I feel they are deeply, deeply important. Here, myself in Australia with Live and Flow, who I work with Matt Omo and Petra Brozovic, we are continuing to get the word out there. We're running more retreats, more one-day workshops. Come and join us in one of them. I promise you won't regret it. If all that seems too much, we also offer a free 7 days of meditation, which we get a fabulous response with. Links are below. Dive in any way you want. Thank you for listening. I'm lost for words. See you soon. Much love. Etienne, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Guy. I'm happy to be here. Totally.
It already feels like going to be one of those podcasts where we've just been chatting off air for 10 minutes. And it's like we have to stop talking because there's too much great things coming out already that need to be recorded and shared intimately with everyone else.
It's a life story, and it's more than a life story that I have to share. Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope I do you justice today, Etienne. And one of my intentions of this podcast is always to make the listener feel like they're right here with us, if they had a cup of coffee or whether they're driving or whatever they might be. So we'll see how we do.
All right. I have a cup of tea.
My first question to you is, and I want to go off on a slightly different tangent today, is why do you do what you do?
I can't do anything else. It's my life's experience that I'm sharing with people. That's it. My life's experience. And, I can't do anything else because everything else is not mine. Yeah, I have to share my heart. I have to share what I discovered over these years. And that's so much fun.
I can see. And the fact that you take the time and you podcast regular, I see that you've been doing that. And you're constantly wanting to share and give and share your wisdom to other people. And I feel honored, actually, truly, to have you on this podcast today.
My pleasure.
And I want to take it back then. Let's go into the bit that caught my attention instantly was that you had a staph infection in your 20s. Is that correct?
It was a little later.
Later.
It was a little later. It was the end of my 30s. Yeah.
Okay.
You could say it was the end of my first life cycle in this life. Yeah. I had a few life cycles. Yeah. Like you. You hit the wall and you can't keep going. You have to turn around and do something totally different. And that staph infection, I'm so grateful for these bacteria to have helped me to realize, hey, Etienne, this is not working for you. You have to do something else. Yeah, from that moment on, my relationship with bacteria and viruses, for that matter, totally changed. Like I invited them in my body, you could say, to help me realize something very, very drastic that on my own, I would not have been able to do that.
Wow. What a way to look at it. What were you doing before the staph infection? And what is a staph infection?
Hold on to your seat. Yeah, I was a total donkey before. So the staph infection was self-inflicted with dirty water. That's what happened. That's how low I got. And that being a junkie, I'm a child of the 60s, yeah, and getting into all that stuff like dope for me was an escape out of my programming. The schools I went to, that was so horrible. I went to a school, there were no girls in the school, one of those things, yeah. It was really so strict that I had to do something to escape my upbringing. And in those days, yeah, going and smoking and later doing other stuff, you know, trying everything out, there was the thing to do in those days. Yeah, it was like an alternative way of being. So yeah, for me also, that was the escape out of the programming, and I went all the way. I went to the end of that uh, till my body gave up. And that of course, made me change quite drastically.
Wow. When you had the staph infection, was it was it a gradual decline, or was it like falling off a cliff with your
It
health?
was
Because I
falling.
knew.
It was falling off the cliff. You know,
Got it.
the staph infection. What it did, it started with when I noticed this was suddenly from one day to the other, I had no more energy. They had invaded my heart and were eating all my valves. So the blood, instead going one way, was going anyway, everywhere. Yeah. So I realized at that moment something was wrong. And then almost immediately, these bacteria went to my kidneys. They're looking for food. Yeah, they're not bad. They're just looking for food. And so they went to my kidneys and started eating kidney. So that's when I realized I couldn't pee anymore. And I started to blow up like a Michelin man, that balloon man. Yeah, and they had, by the time that I realized that, I was so blown up. My skin was see through because I couldn't get rid of the water, the toxins in my body.
Wow.
So, one kidney, of course, yeah, I panicked. I'm going to die. I panicked. I panicked. And looking in the mirror, I didn't recognize the face that I was looking at because it was blown up. But the strange thing also, from inside, I didn't recognize the body anymore either because it was also different with all the water inside. So, yeah, total panic. And luckily, yeah, I went to a rehab center where I knew the people, where I knew they will take care of me. And of course, they didn't know what to do. I was a lost case. Yeah, a really bad junkie. So, yeah, but at that moment, the total panic. And luckily, I had a place to stay. And then, yeah, out of despair, they asked me, what can we do? And I knew they couldn't do anything for me. So I said, give me a room, so I can meditate. And I sat down, I started meditating. And after 30 minutes, something happened. It was like a click. Suddenly, I was into no mind. Suddenly, everything became clear. And the clarity was about, okay, I was so happy to have been a junkie. That was the part of the clarity. I did the life that I wanted to do, not what people told me to do, which was the upbringing. I had done what I wanted to do. I will not advise anybody to follow that. But for me, yeah, at that moment, all right, this is what I did. This is the result. And it was not like being happy about it or unhappy about it. It was just the clarity of, hey, this is it. And there was, yeah, later, you read all these books and you have words of it about it. It was like a cosmic indifference. It was totally fine what I was going through. Whether I would stay alive or die, it didn't matter at all. I had done my thing and I was happy with that. And that state, of being in total no mind, it lasted for more than a year. And then slowly the mind started coming back slowly. Shall I go on with the story?
Keep going. Keep
Yes.
going.
So,
Yeah.
all right, there was this clarity in a totally ruined body. The body was still totally ruined. So they took me to the hospital because they couldn't take care of me. I had to sleep like this with my head here. Otherwise, the water in my body would go to my brain and
A
destroy.
45-degree angle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, all right, in the hospital, they gave me, medication to get rid of the staph infection. And that worked, although they're still in my body. I know they're still there a little bit. And yeah, that's a different story. But, they got rid of the staph infection. And also they gave me medication to keep the kidneys going. But then they did tests, and my heart was still ruined. No valves. My left kidney was 67% dead material, and my right kidney 87 or 89. I forgot the number. Dead material. You can't live with that, with a heart that doesn't pump and kidneys that don't function. So once, I got better in a sense that I could pee and there were no more staph infection. And then they gave me this handful of medication to keep me going. I told the doctor, look, this is going to kill me. It was funny to say that, but this is going to kill me, these medications. I'm out of here. So I had to sign a paper. And then I had one friend left. So I call him, and this was in the Netherlands, in Europe. And I said, can you take me to the Ardennes in Belgium? They have huge forests still there. And I knew I had to go into the forest, into nature. I didn't know what for, but I knew I wanted to get out of the society and go into nature. So we drove a whole day. I didn't know where to go. He didn't know where to go. So, but I was guiding him, go here, go there, go da, 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 da. Suddenly we're in a dead end. We couldn't go any further. It was already 10 o'clock at night. It was in the summer, luckily. So, all right, we set up shop, a tent, a little tent. The car was there. We went in the tent, and I just couldn't stand you know, his energy, basically. He was too stressed out, also from driving the whole day. So I left the tent and I started wandering in the forest and just walking, walking, walking. And then suddenly I saw a little clearing, like trees were almost creating a pavilion type of thing. And I saw in that clearing there was a light. It was like lighted from inside out. And I went in there. I thought, wow, this is a place to sleep. And it was a pine forest, so it was very cushiony, like layers and layers of pine needles was so nice. So I went to sleep there. I closed my eyes, lay down, closed my eyes. As soon as I did that, I was out of my body, watching the body, and I could just really feel, this is the body. This is not me. This is just the body laying there. And I was, like a presence looking at it. And then all these things started to happen. Animals coming by, looking, sniffing, snakes, foxes, little rodents, a boar, huge female with, I think, 10 or 12 of those little ones, all sniffing. Nobody touched me. And what I saw was the respect of those animals for what was happening, what was really happening. I could see, they understood. I didn't, but they understood what was happening. All right. So in the morning, the sun comes up, and the heat of the sun allowed me to go back in the body. So I sat there the whole day. At night, same thing happened. So 4 days and nights, this thing happened. And my friend, He came by once in a while with a little bit of soup. Yeah, it was nice. Some tea once in a while. But I was basically just sitting there, not even meditating. There was nothing happening. It was just blank. I didn't have to do anything. So after 4 days, I told them, all right, let's go back. It's done. Whatever it is, it's done. And we went back to the Netherlands. And a few days later, I went to the hospital and they checked. And my heart, this is so crazy. But my heart was totally healed. All the valves were working, and my kidneys 100% working. This was 1986, and I'm still here without any
Wow.
medication. So there was this thing that happened. Yeah. Wow. But I left the piece out.
Can I ask a couple of
Oh, yeah,
questions,
go ahead.
if you want?
Yeah.
I I need no convincing. I've seen enough and experienced enough in my own life to what you just described there.
Yeah.
And hence why I'm so passionate about this podcast and having these conversations. I just didn't expect you to share all that. That was your journey. That was incredible. You said you spent a year after the diagnosis. And were you at home and were you just given medication? Were you in pain or were you beyond the pain? Were you in just a meditative state daily? Like,
When
how did you navigate that year? And how did members of the family show up or people in your life? Because it'd be very easy for them to impose themselves upon you.
just
You should be
get
doing this. You should be doing that.
I made sure I'll answer that last thing about family first. When I went into that episode of being a junkie, I disconnected totally from the family. I didn't want them, not in the beginning. I was begging for money for a while from my mom, but that was just in the very beginning. But at a certain point, I realized, hey, I'm on my own. I don't want to involve any of the people that I know of my former life, of my family. I don't want to get them involved with my life. So I disconnected from them. And also, after the episode happened, there is still that disconnect. I totally disconnected from my family. I connected later, like 20, 30 years later. I connected again with them, but I left them out of that episode. Then I was in pain for quite a bit when before the meditation. The moment that thing happened in the meditation, all pain was gone. There was as if, yeah, I surpassed it somehow. I went into a state where pain is not happening. In you disconnect basically. That was what I was feeling. Although in those days, that word didn't come up. I realized that later, but I disconnected totally from the body. Yeah, it was like an entity, but the feeling of it, that disconnect was happening. So with the medication also, when the medication happened, when I got that medication, I could feel the body cringe, but it was not me being cringing and disappearing in the pain. There was that disconnect state, and that disconnect is still there, yeah, with the body. But there was another thing that I didn't talk about um, before that. I went to the woods. There was an episode. Of course, my body was so ruined, and with all the medication, they killed the most of the bacteria. But my body was still, ruined to such a point that it couldn't stay alive. It was unable to stay alive. So there was an episode in the hospital where they put me in a ward. Yeah, you've been in the hospital, you know how it works. When people are given up, they put them together in a room, where all the dying people go. And I was part of that. They were all double my age. I was close to 40. Yeah, I was in a ward with 80, 90-year-old people. And then, or yeah, we were all going to die. And we did one night. And it was so strange. The whole room died. Yeah, one after the other. And it was like yeah, like a TV show almost. I was laying there, totally sane, totally clear, and I could see everybody, one after the other, going to a dying process through it, and how the candle went out for them, and all of them a little different. Yeah, and then the person next to me, it was like one after the other. And then the person next to me, he couldn't. He started to panic so much. And then, of course, the nurses came and the curtains went down, and I could hear clanging, so they injected him. And at a certain point, everything went quiet, and they just sent him out with a syringe. Yeah, they opened up the curtain and he was covered. So I knew what happened. And then it was my turn. And, I just laid back, just watching what's going to happen. I didn't know what's going to happen. I knew I was going to die, but how? And then I went through a few phases of hot and cold. And, I read later, yeah, in descriptions how the body goes through stages. You become cold, you cold sweat, and really then you burn up and then you explode, something like that. Well, that's the most drastic thing that I remember, the explosion. When the thing happened that I just became the universe. It was like I became the Milky Way. Millions and millions of dots, all expansion, total expansion. And then the most crazy thing happened. Suddenly, I was back in my body, standing next to my bed. The person next to me was the last one in the row, and he couldn't. Something happened with his heart that he needed something. And that need of that person brought me suddenly back in the body. And the first thing I felt was my body doesn't fit anymore. It didn't match. But I went over to him, and this is another crazy thing. I put my hand on his heart, and I was still in that space of expansion. And I saw my hand going into his chest, touching his heart directly. Of course, that's not possible. But that was the space I was in. So I really touched his heart, really, literally. Yeah, go figure it out. But all right, so suddenly there was this shivering going through him, and something happened. He stayed alive. He didn't die. We became really good friends afterwards. But I was back in the body, still in that no mind space, and that's after a few days later I decided to go to the woods. But the experience of dying, wow. That's basically what I found back in Craniosacral. Yeah, the experience of that silence, that letting go. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Ah.
Wow. Were,
Yeah.
were you so you were you in hospital for the entire year? Is that
No. I think I was in the hospital close to 2 weeks.
and then you
Yeah.
ended up back in there
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
right. Got it. And had you had any meditation
Oh, yeah.
practice
Oh, yeah.
prior to all of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My
Because
meditation practice started, I think, 1974. Off and on, I was in and out of rehab. And that was the days that the dynamic meditation started, bioenergetics started, primal scream started. The very first, yeah, therapy, alternative therapy started to happen. And in those rehab centers, that's where they were experimenting with that. So I had connected with that. At one point, I was for 2 full years in a rehab center, getting totally clean and doing a lot of meditation. I was even a counselor for drug addicts at one point. But somehow that was not complete. That program, yeah, it was not the full program. Because I went back into being an addict after that for a few years before this thing happened. But yes, I knew, about meditation and what it can bring, what it will bring if you're going for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because listening to you share your story, which is just so beautiful, it's incredible. You speak about you were very anxious when you first got diagnosed, like, you went into fear and, oh my God, I'm going to
Oh,
die. But then haven't you just speak of it in the year or even in the woods? Had you made peace with yourself during that time?
the moment
And even
that it clicked, total peace happened. I knew that whatever I did was my own doing. I knew that whatever drugs I took, it was my own doing. And yeah, I had total peace with that. Even the fact that I was going to die. First, there was the panic. I'm going. It's over. But then the meditation happened and the no mind happened. And from that no mind, I could see that I did what I wanted to do. That I did. Now I can say that what I needed to do. Yeah, I needed to be free from my upbringing. And that was my way, to go there. And you could say I was lucky, or I was guided somehow, uh, yeah, through a no mind field to do what I was doing. And there were moments of total despair when I was a junkie, total despair. But in the 70s, I became a sannyasin. I connected to Bhagwan Osho in Pune and became a sannyasin. And I could feel, that his presence when I was in deep, deep despair. It makes me a bit emotional. But when I was in deep despair, I could feel his presence guiding, or not guiding, but comforting me. Like, it's okay. It's whatever you're doing, you know, keep going. Suddenly you disappear from the screen when I'm talking about.
I'm here. I'm here.
But
I think it's just the internet. Yeah.
yeah, all right. Nothing magical. But the moment that I was brought back by the guy next to me, it was that I can see now, yeah, that somehow my story, what I went through, is something to share with people. And what I got from that story is to be able to share no mind, to be able, in Cranio, to share that no mind space with people, to bring them to that no mind space very easily. So, yeah.
Wow. Because once you experience that, then it's I what I found was all the podcasts, all the books, everything I read, everything I did, it was just intellectualized, and it wasn't embodied
Yeah,
until you
yeah,
have an experience.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
talk about a picture says 1,000 words. Well, an embodied experience paints.
Yes, totally,
Wow.
totally. So, yeah, it's logical that I work with bodies, with touch, with conscious touch, and what that is. Yeah, what you can do with that.
So I have to ask you then, when you got up from the forest and go back, how did the doctors respond
Oh,
when the
total disbelief.
and the disbelief?
Total disbelief. But looking at me like I'm a freak of nature. which, yeah, I was nature, but not a freak. Yeah, I went into nature without, yeah, without really knowing that I'm gonna find the answer there. I just knew I got to go into nature because medication was not gonna help me at all. It was gonna kill me. It was gonna kill the body. And I didn't know. Actually, I had no clue what would happen in nature. Absolutely not. That I had to go lay down, I had no clue. It just was an intuition that I followed
Hmm.
because I couldn't do anything else, Guy. I couldn't do anything else. Yeah, I was out of options.
And because of your experience in the hospital a few days before you went into nature,
Yeah,
when you said you know, this is it, I'm going to die.
yeah.
Did that then dissipate any last fear when going into the forest? Were you fully accepting in that space when you went in?
There was no fear anymore.
Hmm.
There was nothing anymore. There was just a journey. All right, let's go to the forest. Let's. It was like going on vacation. It was not even the idea that I was going to heal myself or that something was going to heal me. It was like, all right, let's get out of here. This, what I went through, this is the end of it. Let's get to into something totally different. And I called my friend to go to the forest, literally like going on a vacation. I had no clue at that point. My mind
Okay.
was not there to have a clue. It was like a guidance.
How like looking back with everything you've learned since, and obviously that experience happening, what do you put it down to? That healing, well, like if somebody goes, oh, well, like, well, how did that happen? Like, what is the wisdom you look back upon all of that and go, well, this is what I think happened.
I think the most important thing is just trust in intuition. Total trust in whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And for me, going through that death experience and finding that dying, yeah, is not a big deal. It is just something that you can watch happening to the body. Yeah, I was just, yeah, being, yeah, whatever you would call it, a witness, yeah, being pure awareness, seeing what happens to the body. Yeah, that was what was happening. And you know to bring it into words, to involve mind, yeah, that came later. Yeah, to give it a place so the mind can understand. But at that point there was nothing there to understand what was happening. It was just happening. It was just an experience that I had. And my mind came back, of course, later, to function in the world. Yeah, my brain got healthy again. So there was a mind again. And now I can explain all these things. But at that moment, there was even no need to explain.
Wow. So what did you do with that once you had that experience?
Well,
You've been told your body's 100% back.
yes.
You must have had a smile on your face.
Well,
Going,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah, of course. But the body was so weak after that.
Okay.
I had to find my strength back. And it took me about a year. Luckily, another friend took me in where I could stay for a year. It was a really nice place. Yeah, also in the woods. And it took me about a year to recover. And then, I went to Pune, to India, to yeah, I had to go there to offer my thanks and also my energy to Osho. And I arrived there about a month before he left his body. So I had
Oh.
the happiness of still meeting him. And yeah, then I also took a rebalancing course, which is a massage course that lasted 4 months nonstop. I needed that for my body to, yeah, bring my body totally back in line, so to speak. And in there was a 4-day workshop about Cranio. And massage, I didn't like too much doing, but it was good for my body. But when I connected to Cranio, I knew this is it. This is for me. And that's how I rolled into it. This is for me the experience that brings me closest to the experience of dying, that no mind space where you go in when the body, yes, stops functioning, when you start decomposing, the body does that. And that silence and no mind space of letting go, basically. And that's what I saw in Cranio, that yeah, was the easiest way to keep on living, because I couldn't go to a job or anything. Yeah, that didn't work for me. And that's what Cranio is all about. You know, you just touch somebody, you don't do anything, and then the silence starts to happen. Wow. Yeah. That
Wow.
was my entry into it.
Into Cranio. So then let's move into that, because most people, might have heard the word craniosacral therapy, or wherever it might be. And you're speaking of touch and going beyond the mind as well.
Yeah.
Like, like if, I'm one of them, like how would you describe Cranio then? If, even if I was 12 years old, like, how does it support us?
Well, you know, the word cranio, cranium, sacral, sacrum. Yeah. What we do, what actually happens is we are able to, yeah, feel the different bones in the brain. And it's so easy, you know, it's just a way of fine tuning your senses. That's all it is. And what we do, actually, the actual uh, physicality of it is giving maximum space to the brain and giving maximum space to the spine. And that's what organizes the body, the spine, the spinal cord, and the brain, the nerve system. If you give maximum space to that, yeah, everything else will follow the lead of that, yeah, opening up. And it's basically bringing the body, giving it back its resources. It's not, it started as a therapy going after problems, but it changed, you know, the way that I do this, yeah, is opening up the person to get them back to what is there already in the body. Yeah, not going after problems, yeah, but just opening everything up so a person feels their life force totally. That's what craniosacral is all about.
Wow.
And one of the things we use is conscious touch, yeah, which is the simplest thing. You just put your hand somewhere and you wait. You don't move, you wait. And then you notice, what is the pinky feeling? What is this one and this one? What are they all feeling? And when you start doing that, it brings instant mindfulness, instant. The mind just stops because, hey, you're totally into feeling. And then a few other things start happening. After a minute of that, the brain starts to produce oxytocin, which is, yeah, we call it the love hormone. It is what mom and baby produce to create that love. So when that starts to happen, one of the effects of it is also that the mind stops. You go totally in a no mind space. And there's a whole bunch of tricks that I use, you know, to bring a person in that space. And one, yeah, I can't deny that. But one of the tricks I use is my voice, because when I go there, my voice changes into, yeah, it starts coming from a no mind space, not from the mind anymore. It's a little hypnotic. And it's easy then, because I go there and I pull people with me in that no mind space. It's one of the things, one of the gifts I got from that whole experience of dying and healing. All that, yeah, left me with, yeah, a voice that can do that. Yeah.
Wow. So obviously you've got a reference point
Oh, yeah.
because of your experiences, and then you're then bringing that into the work, essentially.
Yeah.
So with that, then, what is the fundamental philosophy? Like, what, who and what are we as human beings? Are we energetic beings having a physical experience, and the nervous system is a conduit to something far greater than us? Are we holding that information within the body? In the information, all our experiences, and we're reorganizing. Like, how would you do
Well,
an overview?
it is what you say. We are having this experience of being in a body. And to be in this world, you need a body. Without a body, you cannot experience each other. You cannot experience touch. You cannot, yeah, enjoy life as is. Yeah, we are having that experience. And yeah, what we do with Cranio is changing the experience from coming through the mind, which is basically seeing the world, experiencing life, forced by your education and your parents, how they see the world. Yeah, that is a forced expression of the world. It's not yours. Yeah, you follow the lead of other people. So with our Cranio, we can change that from the experience of everything according to your mind. If you shut down the mind, and then there is this experience of no mind. Yeah, and that's the life force that created the body is created not by the mind. The mind starts happening when you're 2 3 years old, then it starts happening, but then the body is already created. This magnificent body with a brain, unbelievable what it can do, is created by the life force, yeah, by nature, yeah. And to fully go into that experience, yeah, you if you're able to come from a no mind space in life, then life will be different. It becomes more real, it becomes more according to nature, and not according to your upbringing or your schooling or all these things. Yeah. It's
Yes, that
simple. It's
resonates.
so
Boy,
simple.
I spent 40 years deconditioning myself before
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you would you say then that the body's internal wisdom is you're giving it permission to find the natural harmony, the rhythm it should be,
Yes.
which in turn, then I'm just trying to choose my words carefully. In turn, if there are elements of us that are out of alignment, you're giving that permission to heal or reset itself or come back into alignment.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Aligning yourself with cosmic forces, with what creates life, the creation of life. Yeah. If you can align yourself with that, which is very easy because it created you. So that's basically what we do in our courses. Yeah. To look at the things that are out of alignment, and then finding ways, and that's quite simple actually, finding ways to open that up. And one of the things, one of, you could say, the principles that I follow, uh, when the body is being created, yeah, at the very beginning, there is no body yet. There is just a bunch of cells, stem cells. They have no form, they're just blobs, but they can absorb the life force and focus the life force into creation. They start, they start cloning like crazy. And then, and this is the thing that is so amazing. At a certain point, you have this amount of stem cells, and then a line appears, a straight line. And when the line doesn't appear, all these cells, they keep on growing, creating forms, nails, eyes, bones, skin, hair, but something that cannot stay alive. It's like stem cells have to create, but just chaotic. When the line comes, suddenly, total clarity for all the stem cells. And they suddenly know what their life's purpose is going to be, where in the body they need, or how to create a body, their migration to certain areas, and also their sense of timing, when to go, when to wait. That midline brings total clarity to all the cells, and then a body is created. And that's what we do with clients. We go back to that midline. We go back to that space of stem cells. And that is a space where a total no mind is happening, because there is no brain yet. So there cannot be a brain yet. And that's one of the things we can do in no mind. Go back in that space of no time, absolute no time, and also to a place where pure energy is available, no form yet.
So I'm just going to repeat back just so I ensure I'm grasping it, and then the listeners are as well.
Yeah.
So then would you, obviously you'll correct me if I'm wrong, a stem cell is effectively a cell coming online. So it's coming from the field into physical form, and it hasn't been given instructions yet, hence why it's a stem cell.
Yeah.
That's correct, yeah? And then you've got a field of information that is currently then telling the stem cell what to do.
Yes. And you're explaining it better than I can. That field, that field of information comes into the form of a line, just a straight line. Yeah. We call that the midline. And that's when the information comes. That's where suddenly it's like a flash of lightning. Suddenly everybody knows what to do. And then they create a body.
Wow. So is it fair to say then, as I explore this in my own mind, that if we have like cells coming online every second right now, stem cells are effectively coming on and turning over, and they need to express their life, express themselves. So if we are suffering with a problem of some sort, physical, then if we can change the information through the life force, help that realign back to its natural state, it will then give a different signal to the stem cell coming online, which in turn could actually help reorganize and heal the issue that we're having on, because the information is different to the cell that's coming on, because they will effectively all turn over.
It's actually exactly how it works. When you connect to somebody and you bring that midline back, and that's very easy. Because as a practitioner, that's what you learn in the classes. You have to come from that no mind space. So when we bring the client in that no mind space, and at that point, we are connected 100% with the client. And then both bodies are in the no mind field. And that is so powerful. It's like a quantum leap. Suddenly, the client not only has their own energy, but somebody else that's totally open. And then that midline field will push everything that is unnatural, everything that is not aligned, it will push it to the surface. So the person will feel the physicality that is not aligned, but also the emotional parts that need to be dumped, and the mental things that are not able to dissolve. everything will pop up, will become visible. And then it becomes easy to work with it because it naturally rises to the surface and becomes visible for the client, but also for
Sure.
the person working, doing, helping them to go into that field of no mind. And it's a very easy process.
Wow. I'm blown away. I can't believe
From so far, I mean, New Mexico in the US, yeah.
it's amazing. Like I'm getting emotional listening to you because I work with people. Like I worked with over 150 people last weekend in person, myself and my business, and we use sound, we use breath, we use
Oh, wow.
meditation,
Yeah, yeah.
we use touch, intuitive aspects, and help people really come to that place that you speak of, and to surrender in, to allow the wisdom of the body to start to reorganize itself. And listening to you share that, I'm like, it's incredible. Everything about me resonates right now. I'm like,
Yes, of
wow,
course. Yeah.
amazing.
It's
You
because you
know,
know that no mind space. That's why you resonate.
mm,
You know it.
yeah, yeah, very well. The can you do you like do all people like do is there only practitioners that learn this, or do people learn it for their own family and things
Well, it's
to
it's
support?
becoming
Or
more and more of a movement at this point. I've been working with this. That thing happened in 1986. I started practicing in 1990, 1989. That's when I started. So there is a whole mushrooming of this. But it's I teach whoever wants to be taught. And, preferably here in New Mexico, we have people coming from all over the world actually to, once they hear this, yeah, it attracts people and everybody can learn it. You do not need any physical knowledge about the body. It's one of the things that I changed. I don't come from an anatomical um, model. Yeah, I try to teach in such a way that a 5-year old even could understand what I'm talking about. Before I use the language, spontaneous language, not cultured language that you learn at school. Of course, a sphenoid bone will be a sphenoid bone, and a frontal bone is a frontal bone. Those things
Mm.
don't change, but it's something that everybody can learn. Everybody.
And do you teach from New Mexico in person now, when people come
Well,
and spend
the
a week with
last
you, or
Yeah,
things?
we have a base here, but I'm traveling all over the world. I'm going to Taiwan, to Hong Kong, Prague. We're just starting also with online classes. That people can have a taste of it online. And one of the other things I'm starting in August in Mexico, we do. Master class about the brain, you know, uh, where people come that have no clue. They have no clue about Cranio, no clue about the brain. And I'm teaching them how to touch and everything about the brain and how to work with brains. Yeah, it's you know, a real explosion, a real movement of Cranio is happening at this point. And
I
yeah, you can see how enthusiastic I am about it.
I
Yeah.
can I can, and I can believe it. I feel it's now or never in our world. To be honest with you,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yes, yes. And the world, people are so ready, to take healing as
Mm.
something that they can do themselves. Yeah, it's not, they don't have to go to a hospital. It's right in your hands.
Are we able to perform cranial on ourselves, or does it need to be two independent people to?
It is, of course, much more fun if somebody does it for you.
Yes.
Because then you can totally let go. But it's one of the things that we are developing also a few videos about. All right, how do you do this yourself? Yeah, how can you very easily, yeah, for instance, behind this bone, there is the human brain, the frontal cortex. How can you give it space? Yeah. And it's very easy, actually, how to do these things on your own. So we're at this point, that's one of our projects, is to bring a few videos online. Yeah. How to do self help with Cranio.
Wow. We have like I'm running out of time here, but we haven't even touched trauma,
Oh,
cancer,
man.
all these things that we spoke about, right? And with the body that we could get into. But I'm going to go and find a local therapist and just try it, because I've
Okay.
never had the experience
Yeah.
myself, and I'll let you know how it goes.
All right. Invite me
But
again.
would you? Yeah, please come back. Would you come back on the podcast, Etienne, in the future?
Absolutely, absolutely. I need to share this with the whole world. Yeah.
I can tell. Yeah, and just feeling your just your honesty in the way you speak and share from the heart, Etienne, is so beautiful. And yeah, I'm so glad that you came on the podcast today, and I can share. This will reach thousands of people, and I hope it will bring much more awareness to you and your work. I'm curious. Really, my brain is ticking away in the background, thinking, how can I get in front of you somehow?
There is we have an entry into the website. It's called Cranio Rocks, like rock and roll, craniorocks.com. People can go and look at what we're doing. Yeah, it's very easy.
Amazing. Any last words of wisdom or anything to leave our listeners to ponder on today after everything we've covered so far?
Oh,
Etienne?
yes. People know what to do, get out of your head and go into nature. You can meet anything, your guru, your nature, your guide. Nature itself is your guide. Go in the silence of nature. It will help you tremendously. And of course, in future, come to my classes.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nature is so healing, isn't it? That's why I live near the ocean.
Oh,
I
man,
ensure
yes.
I'm
I know Byron Bay. Yes.
Yeah. So just can you say your URL, your website out one more time for people? I'll ensure the links are in the show notes as well.
The website is craniorocks.com.
Cranio Rocks.
And then they go to
Etienne.
our official website. Yeah.
Yeah. Got you. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing, which I think, like I said, we've just scratched the surface. I didn't even quiz you about being at the Osho Meditation Center and what you learned. There's so many aspects, and anyway, I'm sure there'll be a part 2 at some stage, and getting into your work a lot more as well. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.